Cool beans. Let's just jump into the DSV script. Okay, so DSV script is basically for people who specifically find themselves freezing in the middle of an exam. So if you find yourself being like, well, I know what the content is, I know what to do, but the second I see a question in the middle of the exam, I freeze. So this might be an anxiety response, this might be a stress response or things like that. Then the DSV script is basically my method on how you can actually go about solving a question. So the DSV script is pretty much decode, spot, and verify. So first you need to actually figure out what is the question actually asking you to do? What's the final goal? Another thing you can put in here is why is the examiner asking me this? Why is the examiner actually asking this? Okay, what concept, what bucket does it actually tick? Right? What checklist box do I actually have to hit from this? Okay, what is the examiner actually asking? So you look at a question, and if you're completely stuck, you're frozen, you just read it and go, what is the examiner actually asking? Okay. Once you do that, you spot anything where they could expect you to mess up. Okay. This could be, for example, in one unit they have kilometers per hour and another unit they have meters per second. So you need to convert one or the other. It could be that they're going in meters in one of them and then they're going in kilometers in the other. You need to convert one or the other. It could be the fact that some of the graph charts and stuff like that have slightly different labels, right? So you expect it to be like an R squared graph, for example. So it could be like on the x-axis, you expect it to be x squared, but instead they actually just have x. So it looks like this, and you're expecting a linear trend or something, right? And you might need to square each value or something like that to actually get the final answer, okay? So you always try and spot any single tricks and stuff that you've seen before and any single issues and stuff that could be made, right? This is also helpful when you're looking at answers, right? When you guys are doing corrections and checking in your home and stuff like that, when you're doing mock exams and things, a lot of people, what they do is they don't actually thoroughly go through them. And I'll talk about how to actually thoroughly go through the exams you guys are doing at home as well. So a lot of people don't actually thoroughly sit down and go, well, why is this answer plausible? Right? Why is this answer plausible? Why did someone do this? And understand the mistakes that other people could have made to get different answers. Okay. So, for example, a lot of the math segments and stuff like that, they're starting to have, if you've done enough exams, they're starting to have a lot more answers that are closer together. They have a lot of answers that are like 1.58, and the next one might be 1.57 or something, and they're only like 0.01 away, right? If you see a question like this and you usually end up doing like rounding and things like that in order to get the final answer, then maybe a good idea to not round in this process, right? Because it's very, very close and 0.01 is a lot of difference, right? If it was, for example, 1.97, then maybe you could round and it's okay, right? So a lot of the time, when you're doing the spotting process, it's really looking at the answers or looking at the question itself holistically and understanding, well, where does an examiner actually want me to mess up? Right? Where does an examiner actually want me to not get the final answer? Where does the examiner think that I'll stuff up? And when you know that, then you're more aware of it and you can actually keep going with the processing. So it helps you map out the steps that you need to take. Okay. And then the last one is verify, which is basically if you got an answer right now, how would you know if it actually makes sense? So if you're just reading a question, you go, okay, well, the answer is in the final format of like decimals or percentages. How would I know if I actually get my final answer correct? Well, based off of this logic and stuff like that, if I have these two numbers, then as long as I get my final answer between like 1.4 and like 2, for example, that might be good enough for me to verify that I have done the right process, right? If my number is like a 300 or something for this question, which has answers of 1.58 and 1.97, then I probably messed up somewhere. I need to recheck my method and things like that. Okay, so the DSV script is a really powerful method to actually go about making sure that you are using an optimal method and you are able to look at certain questions and understand like, okay, well, this is where the trick is and this is what I actually need to do. Okay, so decode, spot, and verify, DSV. It's a very powerful script. I use this pretty much all the time still to this day. It's really helpful when you're just stuck and when you have these long answer questions and stuff in your school exams and things, not just John Monash, but mainly in school exams, and you just have no idea where to actually do. So you decode the question, you try and understand what the examiner is actually asking you to find and why they're asking you to find it, and then you spot any tricks and stuff that they have, and then you verify.